Oh my gosh. Brian's had a veganist tooth the whole time.
It's on this side. I thought it was, you said it was on
No, it's this side. There. That's love.
That'll definitely pick up.
Can you hear our cat drinking water?
So we're gonna eat and talk, changing up the format a little bit. Does this qualify as like a mukbang video? Do you guys just like watching people eat and talk? We're not hip with the kids. We did CrossFit Olympic lifting for the first time this morning, by the way. Check it out.
Vegan gains. We hit up Veggie Grill because it's like our favorite post-workout.
Yeah.
Just carb load.
Yeah.
Look, it's not Whole Foods plant-based.
Basically, don't do this.
Don't try this at home.
We got
the vegan buffalo wings with celery.
Vegan ranch.
I got my favorite kale cannellini soup. Oh my gosh, this.
I got the Moroccan lentil soup, which is also quite delicious. If you see, we each have half of a different sandwich. This first one over here, this is their Santa Fe chicken sandwich.
This is the best one ever. If you are going to go to Veggie Grill, do not leave it without trying the Super Rica burger. It is made with Beyond Meat. I mean, no words. Vegan mac and cheese.
Of course.
And we got some fries.
Fries, yeah.
Fries to share.
And then if you ask, you can get the chipotle mayo on the side as a dipping sauce. Like we said, this is probably not Dr. Greger or Dr. McDougall's favorite meal.
No.
For us to eat, but
we wanted to show you the things that are available to you.
Oh.
Most of our week is Whole Foods plant-based.
But today's Saturday.
Hey guys, I'm Anna.
And I'm Brian.
And we are those annoying vegans.
And today we wanted to do something a little different for you. Obviously, we are in a different part of our home.
The reverse side, the kitchen's over there.
Yeah. We wanted to talk about Roaming Millennial's video, The Problem with Vegans, and her recent debate with Ranting Monkey. The two of them debated vegan gains and Ask Yourself. It was moderated by Blair White. If you haven't seen that debate, definitely go check it out. We're gonna be talking a little bit about the debate, but mostly about Roaming Millennial's original video.
We're a little bit late. I've had jury duty the past couple of weeks, so sorry, my fault.
It's totally your fault.
All my fault. But we hope you still find some insightful points, things you might have not heard before on other people's response videos, shall we?
Let's do it.
Hey guys, this is Roaming Millennial. Welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to talk about my beef with vegans. Veganism is always pretty controversial to talk about on the internet, especially if you are critical of the movement, since I feel like a lot of vegans can be pretty militant about their beliefs, which, trust me, I will get to later on in this video. But if you are a vegan who's watching this, may I please ask that before you start downvoting and leaving comments, please hear me out first, and if you still want to fight about this after all is said and done, then, you know, totally go for it, rip me a new one, but please at least watch the video first. And now that that disclaimer's out of the way, let's get into the meat of the issue, which is that I, as a general rule, usually don't care very much for vegans, or at least not their behavior.
And then at the beginning of the debate, she immediately started to say like, well, of course, not all vegans are this way. I'm just talking about the most extreme vegans. But you just said as a general rule.
Like she said, if you're not like that, then this video obviously doesn't apply to you.
Right.
But then reword that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or you could title your video, My Problem with Vegan Extremists.
Or My Problem with Some Vegans.
But your video is called The Problem with Vegans, and you started off at 38 seconds into the video that as a general rule, you don't like vegans. Ask Yourself brought this up in the debate. A valid point.
And anytime I say this to someone, the response that I usually get from people, especially if they themselves are vegans, is, what's your problem with veganism? To which I have to correct them, no. I didn't say I have an issue with veganism, I said I have an issue with vegans. You see, even though I'm not vegan myself and have no plans whatsoever to be vegan in the near or distant future.
Way to be open-minded, by the way.
Also, that's sort of her way of getting out of having to debate the ethics of veganism. Because she's saying, I like veganism, I just don't like vegans. Vegans are those who participate in veganism. We get it. You would like to bash people's behavior rather than actually debate the ethics of veganism. And the reason you would like to not debate that is because you can't debate it.
You can't debate
it makes you feel bad to eat meat. That's the problem that you're having.
I still think that there are a lot of benefits to veganism. I think there are health benefits to it. I think there are environmental and sustainability benefits to it. Not enough benefits to make me want to give up meat, but still, overall, I don't think that veganism as a concept is a bad thing. I think it actually has a lot to offer people.
You put up an image of I heart meat, despite all the health and environmental benefits that you just introduced. You just like eating meat.
You just like doing it.
That's what it comes down to.
Even though I am a proud meat eater, I am still really happy that veganism is bringing to light issues that weren't really talked about much before, but that are really important.
Proud meat eater.
Yeah, Mike the Vegan brought this up in his response video, and it bears repeating. What are you proud of? Or why are you proud? You're proud that baby male chicks get ground up alive. And you're proud that baby cows die so that you can eat cheese. And you're proud that a 1.5-year-old chicken gets its throat slit so that you can have a sandwich. Like, what is the pride?
What's there to be proud of?
You're not doing anything other than going to the grocery store or the restaurant and buying a dead animal that someone else killed for you.
And then you eat it and you enjoy it and you're proud of enjoying it? It just doesn't make sense. Meat eating is not a movement.
It's not like meat eaters have to struggle to get their voices heard.
Things like the fact that most Americans eat way too much meat, way too much processed food, and how much more cost-efficient eating greens instead of meat is. Not to mention that there are still major issues to this day with the meat industry and how many animals who are slaughtered are treated completely inhumanely. All those things need to be talked about, and if nothing else, I am glad that vegans are making people talk about them. And you might be thinking to yourself now, well, if veganism is so great, then why have you made an entire video essentially crapping on vegans? And to be frank, as I'm sure a lot of us out there can attest to, the truth is that a lot of vegans act like jerks. Like, there is a shocking amount of douchebaggery among the vegan community. I just don't like the way that so many of them act. And I mean, it's definitely not all vegans, and if you're just a normal person who happens to not eat animal products, it doesn't mean that I won't like you. You do you, boo-boo. You go for that kale. But for all the annoying, preachy vegans out there, here are 5 problems I have with your behavior. Number 1, you don't shut up about being vegan. This is probably the least serious, but also the most common problem that people have with vegans. I swear, it's almost like veganism is the opposite of Fight Club, in that you have to tell everybody about it many times. As often as you can.
Okay, you don't shut up about being vegan. Not the most original thing we've heard, but you might as well say CrossFitters talk about CrossFit a lot, or atheists talk about atheism, or someone who loves gardening talks about gardening all the time. You talk about anti-SJW stuff all the time.
It stands to reason that in an omnivorous society, such as the one that we live in, that vegans would be more vocal than omnivores, because when you're living in a civilization that contradicts your moral beliefs, you're probably gonna
speak up about
it.
Like any other social justice movement out there.
There are literally memes on memes on memes out there about how annoying it is that vegans bring up the fact that they're vegans so dang frequently. And look, I do get that most vegans are super proud to be vegan. I mean, they're probably doing it for ethical reasons, in which case they should feel good about themselves.
Oh.
We do.
I'm sorry, you can be a proud meat eater, but we can't be proud vegans. But if we are proud vegans, we just have to shut up about it, I think is her point.
Yeah.
We don't want to hurt her feelings.
I think like people's quip with vegans who don't shut up about it is, oh, so you think you're better than everyone else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course not. That's the whole point of veganism is that we don't see ourselves as superior to anyone, cow or pig or chicken or human.
Plus, it is really hard to avoid animal products completely in this day and age.
Nope.
So it is an achievement, the fact that you're able to sustain yourselves based on nothing but plants. Yeah, like I said before, veganism isn't a bad thing, but it's not something that you need to tell us about all the time. And this obsessive attachment to a label or an identity definitely isn't exclusive to vegans. I mean, just talk to someone who does CrossFit. But the fact that other groups also do it too doesn't make it any less annoying. I hate to break it to you guys, but vegans, nobody really cares about your dietary preferences. We just don't.
Except for you.
Because you just made a video about it.
I guess being vegan would be relevant to bring up if you're making meal plans with someone, but aside from that, you can probably just go ahead and keep it to yourself.
You know what's weird about this is she's a constitutional conservative, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't freedom of speech in the First Amendment?
Mm-hmm. The difference here is that our free speech makes her feel like a bad person for paying someone to murder animals so that you can eat them. There's a very famous Leonardo DiCaprio meme that says, it's not us, it's your conscience. So that's what that is. That is why I didn't like debating a vegan when I was an omnivore. It bothered me too.
He was one of those meat eaters.
I know. I was. Luckily you saved me.
No,
but
I didn't save you. You saved yourself because of your open mind. your willingness to learn something new, Roaming.
Yeah, we know why omnivores don't like debating the ethics of veganism, and it's because you can't debate the ethics of veganism without losing.
And reason number 2 why I generally don't care for vegan behavior is that you're often aggressive and hostile. In the past, I've been called a murderer and a rapist by vegans.
We get it. Those words are harsh. We don't use those words. Some vegans do use those words.
Certainly not productive.
But I think they're harsh for a reason.
You're not directly raping and murdering anything, thank goodness, but you're paying into the industry that does.
Animals are being murdered and raped so that they can be purchased in a grocery store in a shiny package.
It doesn't reflect the values of most omnivores.
Most omnivores wouldn't kill a pig to eat it.
Most omnivores think they're opposed to animal cruelty, and yet they participate in it anyway.
Unfortunately, a lot of vegans just seem to hold contempt for people who aren't also vegan. In fact, on the vegan subreddit, there are actually people asking questions like, how do I stop viewing non-vegans as evil, ignorant, and entitled beings? Call me crazy, but if someone is calling me evil, ignorant, and entitled, I'm probably not gonna want to be their bestie. And I know when it comes to treating us meat eaters kindly, a lot of you vegans probably think, well, why should we be nice to you? You kill and eat animals. You're a murderer. The thinking there, I guess, is that by eating meat, we are doing something so repugnant that we do not deserve civility. We do not deserve kindness. But vegans, just imagine for a second if every ideology in the world behaved that way. If every ideology out there acted like the people who didn't agree with them were monsters. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that that would be awful.
It's not that you don't deserve civility or kindness. Every living being deserves civility and kindness. But here you are excluding yourself from the equation.
Yeah.
Yet another anthropocentric viewpoint.
You want us to put ourselves in your shoes. Well, here's the funny thing about that, is that most vegans were in your shoes. Most omnivores were never vegan, but most vegans grew up as omnivores or were born omnivores. Hardly anyone in this country is born into a vegan diet.
And this is
growing.
The dilemma here too is once you become vegan, it's almost like the Matrix pill where you've woken up and you want to help other people wake up.
Yeah. The reason people get so frustrated is that these are human beings talking to other human beings that are perfectly capable of reasoning this one out. Oh, you don't need to kill a chicken to survive. You don't need to kill a pig to survive. You don't need to kill a cow to survive. But people keep doing it. And then they look at the slaughterhouse footage and then they go, ugh, I don't like that.
I don't want to watch it.
But then they keep doing it. And then we say, hey, baby male chicks are ground up alive in order for you to get eggs. And you go, oh my God, that's horrible. And then they keep doing it.
Right.
It's this keeping doing it part is frustrating because
you're acknowledging that what is happening, that what you're seeing doesn't feel right.
Yes.
For a reason. You need to trust that. That is an honest, sincere response to cruelty. People are fundamentally good at heart.
We believe that. You don't like watching the slaughterhouse footage, it's for a reason. It's probably because you're a good person and you don't want to see that pain inflicted on those animals. You turn away.
Oh, but you're killing animals. There's innocent lives at stake. There are lives at stake, and not just animal lives, actual human lives at stake for many political issues out there. Abortion is a great example of this. People who are pro-life believe that they are protecting innocent children. If, like me, you prescribe to that worldview, those are some pretty dang high stakes.
We've never actually discussed abortion before. We recognize that some vegans are staunchly pro-choice.
Not all vegans.
Not all vegans.
The abortion thing always gets brought up because it's like, hey, you can't be for killing a baby, but against killing a cow or a chicken or a pig. That's a valid point. It's interesting to note that veganism tends to be a left-leaning movement, and pro-choice tends to be a left-leaning movement, whereas meat eating tends to be a right-leaning movement, and pro-life tends to be a right-leaning movement. So you have both ends of the spectrum, which, by the way, nobody's really all the way over here or all the way over here. Most people are somewhere in the middle. So you have opposing viewpoints on both sides. But I think that we're consistent.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
But that still doesn't give us the right to be a-holes to people who are pro-choice. Tons of issues out there are matters of life and death, and any issue out there is to someone the most important issue in their lives. But our emotional investment in an issue or how serious we think something is not a carte blanche to just start freaking out at everybody and acting hostile.
We agree, which is why we try to maintain a positive approach to it on our channel.
Changing minds is going to make a way bigger difference than trying to accomplish anything by force. So if we were to make a law that just says no more eating meat, it's illegal, people would go, you, I'm gonna eat meat anyway. You don't need meat to survive, It's a horribly brutal industry that you are supporting. It's wrecking the planet and it's bad for your health. And when people change their own mind, then their behaviors will
follow.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is not by being hostile.
And it's not often that I agree with something the Young Turks say, but they did do a segment on veganism, which I think sums up my views toward the issue pretty nicely.
PETA can be extremist in some ways, and I think that some vegans are extremists in some ways. They see this as a moral issue.
No, but that's what I was going to get to.
They get crazy about it.
They get so self-righteous sometimes. They think, well, I'm protecting the lives of all these animals, and these animals are just as important as human beings. And so if someone is a traitor to our cause, they're now carnivorous, and they're killing and eating these animals. I got to take action.
Yes.
To the vegan community, I gotta say, bring it down, man. This is not V for vegan. Just calm down.
And issue number 3 I have with vegans is that you often conflate meat eaters with the meat industry. Something that I see vegans bring up very often when arguing for veganism are the injustices committed by the meat industry.
Guess who's funding the meat industry?
And while there are laws in place, at least in the West, that are meant to protect the well-being of livestock and ensure that they are slaughtered in the most humane way possible and they don't suffer unnecessarily, any quick YouTube or Google search will show you that there is no shortage of video footage out there of animals being treated cruelly.
These penal codes you speak of.
Yeah.
They actually differ by state. The majority of these laws do not apply to farm animals.
Of course not. That would be a really hard code to uphold when you have people slaughtering pigs all day long. So guess what? They're an exception.
And I think part of the reason why some vegans treat meat eaters so poorly is that in their minds, the meat eaters are responsible for the treatment of these animals.
They are.
But the thing is, most meat eaters do not support animal cruelty. And I think most meat eaters, if they were to see how these animals were being treated, and obviously I'm not saying all animals who are slaughtered for meat in the US or Canada or Britain or Australia are being mistreated, but it does happen. They would want the opportunity to help change that situation, to ensure that there are protections against that kind of treatment.
That's a complete generalization. How many times do you see a meat eater go to a restaurant and ask, where did this patty come from? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about how that animal was treated?
What's the story with the chicken fettuccine?
It's not an episode of Portlandia.
No. If you would like to posit this argument that, well, if you only eat organic, grass-fed, free-range, locally sourced,
humanely raised, humanely killed.
You could argue that, I guess, if you want, but then you wouldn't be able to go to any restaurants, really, or eat over at a friend's house. Do you ever ask, like, oh, you made steaks? Hey, what's the story with the cow, though? No one asks. No one cares. People just like to say that. They say that they wish animals weren't treated as inhumanely as they are.
Yet they continue to buy into the industry.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words. That's what my mom taught me.
But in essence, what vegans are doing is blaming people and holding them responsible and hating them for actions that most of us aren't even aware are happening.
But you are, right?
I applaud you for trying to protect animal welfare and for educating people about this, I really do. But that resentment that you feel while watching those animals be mistreated, don't take that and place it on every meat eater you see. That ill will should be directed to the people who are responsible for mistreating the animal.
Again, your dollar is your vote. We always say it. If you don't want animals to be treated inhumanely, which they are, regardless if they're kicked in the head or thrown against a wall, they are still treated inhumanely.
Yeah.
Just watch Earthlings, for heaven's sakes. If you're arguing this, then at least have something to back it up with. Watch Earthlings. Let us know if you can stomach it. And about resentment. Take us, for example. We volunteer regularly at an animal rescue sanctuary where we've gotten so close with the animals there. We've developed relationships with them. One in particular, Lady Yara. Say our friends ask us to come over for Thanksgiving dinner where there will be a dead turkey on the table. Can you not see?
I mean, it would be the same as if you had a cat or you had a dog and someone invited you over to eat cat or dog. Actually, Louis C.K. brought this up in his latest stand-up, which you should watch, by the way. He was joking, but he actually made a really good point. He said that if you're mad at the people protesting outside of an abortion clinic, you have to look at it from their point of view. And their point of view is that they are murdering babies in there. So how could you not protest that? And it shouldn't be that big of a leap to move that logic over to veganism. We don't pick and choose which animals do or don't deserve to be killed for food. We just say none of them deserve to be killed for food.
Speciesism is a thing.
The guy who's kicking the chicken, or that guy who was punching goats in one video.
So that must mean that you don't buy Purdue or Tyson or Foster Farms or Butterball because they've all been charged with animal cruelty repeatedly.
You can't possibly support any of those companies because you don't like seeing animals abused.
The fourth problem I have with vegans is that a lot of you don't seem to get sentience or intelligence hierarchies. This is something that, along with the whole hostility thing, I find makes it really challenging trying to have a reasonable and civil conversation with vegans.
Which must mean that you think that your view about hierarchies is the correct one.
Yeah.
Several years ago, I'm sure most of us will remember, PETA had that ad campaign which upset a lot of people, where they compared Holocaust victims to livestock. People did not like that.
Yeah, it's a harsh comparison. However,
Alex Hershaft, he is currently the president of Farm Animal Rights Movement. He was a Holocaust survivor. His father died in the Holocaust. He is a huge animal rights protester because he can see the parallels between what he experienced in the Holocaust and what animals are experiencing in factory farms.
the reason that some vegans use that word, again, is to evoke the imagery of the Holocaust to make a comparison between humans and animals. We're trying to show that humans and animals are not that different when it comes to pain and suffering and the ability to experience pain and suffering. It's the same. The Nazis called the Jewish people Untermensch, means subhuman.
Slave owners used to own slaves as property.
It wasn't that long ago when women weren't allowed to vote and gay people weren't allowed to get married, and there's been a lot of bad things that human beings have done to one another in the past that we don't do to each other now. And animals are just the next evolution of that.
Because all these things happened doesn't mean they were justified.
I thought those ads were disgusting, but they're important because they illustrate a common theme among vegans and even vegetarians, which is that a lot of them don't distinguish between the value of human life and the value of animal lives. Like, there are vegans who actually ask, are people who are pro-life but eat meat hypocritical? Because apparently there's no difference between a human fetus and a pig.
All right. There are enormous differences between a human fetus and a pig. We could list a million differences between a pig and a human, a cow and a human, a chicken and a human, a salmon and a human. We're different. The point is that they experience pain and suffering in the same way. There's no difference between a human and an animal that justifies putting them through the kind of torturous lives that we put them through in order to eat them. Why is that hard? This is why I think ask yourselves, name the trait argument is so important. The way he phrases it or the complexity of that idea is a lot for people to comprehend sometimes. People often go...
It's a new way of thinking.
Yeah, people often go like, say that again? What was that?
No, it was me too.
I think it goes over people's heads. I think a lot of times people are like, what do you mean what's the difference? It's a pig. Yes.
That was a ranting monkey in the debate. We agree that there are differences, so what are you getting at?
Name the trait that, if absent in humans, would justify the treatment of humans as we treat animals. Meaning, what is the difference between us and pigs, us and chickens, us and cows, that justifies treating pigs, chickens, and cows the way that we treat them? Because we don't treat humans that way.
No.
In fact, we don't treat dogs that way, we don't treat cats that way, but we do treat these select species that way.
Obviously, not all vegans think this way. I've had tons of vegans tell me that they don't see humans and animals on the same level, but for them, they still don't think it's justified to kill animals for meat, and that's fine. I respect that decision. But for me, probably the biggest reason why I am not vegan is that I don't believe that animals are intelligent or sentient enough for it to be akin to murder to eat them.
The term murder seems to confuse a lot of people when it comes to animals. They say if you're killing an animal, it's not murder. That's kind of a semantics game.
If we said like, oh my God, someone broke in and murdered my dog, you would know what I'm talking about, right? In fact, you might even agree with me in that scenario, but we don't care about cows or chickens or pigs, so we can't call it murder because that makes us feel bad.
How sentient does an animal need to be in order to not be killed for food, in your opinion? Where do we draw that line? Who decides who's intelligent or not? Apparently, the people in Yulin, China don't give a shit about whether dogs and cats are intelligent. They're eating them by the thousands every single time June rolls around. It's individuals, it's cultures, it's countries.
Also, you said sentient or intelligent, which those are very
different.
Very different. They're two completely different things. Plants are intelligent, but they're not sentient. I mean, this laptop is intelligent, but it's not sentient.
It is receiving information, processing it, and producing results.
And it is just a scientific fact that animals do not have the same brain functions and brain capacities as we do. And so it can be really frustrating, or at least I find it frustrating, when you're trying to have a conversation with a vegan about the value of human life versus animal life, and they refuse to see the difference between the two.
Why does there need to be a versus?
Again, ask yourself, brings this up. Whatever reason you give for killing an animal and eating it, whether you think it's dumber than you, whether you think it doesn't have moral agency, whether you think that it's less evolved than you, it doesn't matter what you think. if you apply those traits to a human being. Because I don't know if you know this, but toddlers, they're not that intelligent. There's a phrase called, like, taking candy from a baby.
Right.
We could do these things to these animals because we have the power.
Doesn't mean we should.
In fact, the opposite.
With great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Yes, not an abuse of that power, which is what we do when we kill cows and pigs and chickens. They're so easy to manipulate and exploit. There's a reason why we don't fill our factory farms with tigers.
And the thing is, I think you can make an argument against eating meat without conflating animal life with human life. We can still have a conversation about why it might not be okay to eat animals, but trying to have a discussion about the morality of eating meat with someone who believes that animal lives are equal to human lives is almost like trying to have a discussion about the solar system with someone who believes the earth is flat. Like, you just can't progress further than that. Studies show us that even within the animal kingdom, there are still hierarchies of intelligence. So even though I really don't feel at all guilty about eating chickens or eating fish, I do think that perhaps there might be an argument against eating pigs.
So you don't feel bad at all for eating chickens or fish on the basis of intelligence, but you feel bad about pigs. You've seen the chicken playing the piano, by the way, right?
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Chickens learn their names.
They can perform tasks, they learn faces. They have over 20 different vocalizations that they use. They can be trained to fetch and to solve puzzles and do all the stuff that dogs can do.
Come on, Stripe! You can do it! You get enough treats? Come on, jump! Jump!
They just look weird, right? Is that it?
It's
like,
the-
oh, it's a
it's the
bird and I'm a
feathers,
mammal.
yeah.
I think people have these misconceptions because they're not around these animals. But have you ever hold a chicken? They're very soft, very fluffy.
Yeah.
They're nice.
They make a clicking sound when they're happy.
When you go feed them their own eggs, like they look at you and they know. They know what's going on. It's this weird thing. People go, they're stupid. Yes, they haven't built a space shuttle, but that doesn't mean.
But then again, they're not destroying their own planet either.
Well.
Pigs are extremely intelligent, and some studies show them to be as smart as or even smarter than dogs. So I think there we can really have this deep conversation about the moral implications and what exactly it would mean to end this animal's life in order to eat it. But if someone tells me that me killing a fly is the equivalent of me killing my neighbor, no, it's not.
No one says that.
I've never heard a vegan say that.
And you're using that to debunk eating cows, chickens, and pigs?
Killing a fly isn't the same as killing a human. Thus, I'm going to go to In-N-Out. And I think what they're trying to do, because I tried it, is get vegans to admit that they care more about human life than they do about animal life. Let's say that all vegans across the world were just like, yes, human life is more important than animal life. It still wouldn't justify treating them the way that we do. You don't have to equate something to treat it nicely. Again, toddlers are stupider than me, but I still treat toddlers with care.
Yeah. Because why wouldn't you?
The fifth issue I have with vegans is that you often misrepresent or misinterpret nutritional studies. If you listen to a lot of vegans, the impression that you'll probably get is that meat is awful for you. It is the worst thing you could possibly put in your body. It causes cancer, heart disease, obesity, just early death in general, really.
It does. All of those things. The World Health Organization, Roaming, designated processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen and red meat as a Group 2 carcinogen. Okay, so you've just admitted that. Let's just make a note of that. You've just admitted that.
But that's not necessarily because they don't eat meat.
All right, I said this last week. This idea that vegans are healthier, but it's not because they're vegan. That's not the reason. That's totally not it at all. They're just more health conscious. That's why they're vegan. This argument makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. I can't even construct an appropriate response to it.
It must be because we're X-Men. Or
supernatural beings.
Yes, we were bitten by radioactive spiders or exposed to too much gamma radiation. Something. We're magical, apparently. Or could it be that we don't eat animal products and thus we're healthier on average? Also, the vegans and vegetarians thing drives us nuts.
We get it on in the sense that you're trying. You're trying. But to lump vegetarianism and veganism into the same group doesn't make any sense, because vegetarians are still consuming saturated fat and cholesterol. They're still buying into the industry.
Vegans also tend to be way more health conscious in areas like not smoking, exercising more, and not eating processed foods. All of those things affect your overall health. If we really wanted an accurate study that compared the health effects of a vegan diet to a meat-eating diet, we would need meat eaters who are just as health conscious as the average vegan. I'll let this doctor man explain what I mean. He says it way better than I do.
Scientists studied 11,000 people. About 57% were meat eaters, omnivores, and 43% were vegetarians, but both groups were health conscious. In other words, meat eaters and vegetarians, these were people who shopped at the health food store, so they typically were healthier and more health conscious. But in this study, the researchers found that the overall rates of death were cut in half for both health conscious meat eaters and for vegetarians when compared to the average person eating a Western processed diet. No benefit was found for vegetarians or harm for meat eaters for the risk of heart disease, cancer, or death.
What did he just say?
43% for vegetarians, but both groups were health conscious.
Vegetarians! You're not going to find a major health difference between vegetarians and omnivores. In a way, dairy is worse.
Yeah.
Dairy causes osteoporosis. Cheese has some of the highest fat content out of all of the animal products that are out there. Eggs are like little saturated fat and cholesterol bombs. That's why Dr. Hyman is using that study, because he knows that when you study vegetarians and meat eaters, there's not going to be a very big difference between rates of heart disease, heart attack, and stroke.
Studies generally separate omnivorism, pescatarianism, ovolactonism, I don't know, and veganism.
Yeah.
They're all different.
So basically, despite what vegans may think and what they may be trying to tell you, it's just not accurate to say that meat is this horrible thing that we should stay away from entirely. And actually, there are a lot of health benefits that come from eating unprocessed meat and animal products in moderation.
What benefits that you can't get from plants?
That's the thing. People just say this.
Blanket statements.
Meat's good for you. Oh, how is it good? Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
Eat it. Because I can tell you why beans and lentils and legumes and vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds, I can tell you why those foods are healthy. I can tell you why meat's unhealthy. I can't tell you why meat is healthy or necessary. The cons outweigh the pros in every animal product.
Look, vegans can be healthy, but the fact is that humans, we're omnivores. We are. It's just what our system requires. And vegans like to deny this. They like to claim that we don't need meat, we don't need animal products.
You're right, we're wrong. If you're talking about our behavior, then yes. Yeah. People behave like omnivores. But that doesn't mean we are omnivores. If we're omnivores, we're the world's worst omnivore.
We have no fangs, no hunting instincts. We're not fast.
No.
Can you climb a tree like a lion? Our vision's not that great either. Our smell?
Our sense of smell sucks compared to actual carnivores. When a little animal scurries across the floor, is your instinct to chase after it and bite it in the neck? Because there are animals out there where that is their instinct.
She said in the debate, I have canines. Do you see this?
Yeah.
You see, that's all flat.
By the way, we called them that.
Yeah.
We named them canine teeth. That'd be like someone building a tiny house and go, this is my mansion. Go, well, it's not a mansion. I've called it a mansion, and thus it's my mansion.
Even gorillas have larger canines than us, and they're still herbivores.
And furthermore, I have a theory. This is completely based on just what happens up here in the old noggin. No science whatsoever. But here's my theory. When we watch movies, or we watch YouTube videos, or we hear stories about people getting attacked by bears, getting attacked by a lion, I think that tickles something in the back of our brain. We're scared because I believe that evolutionarily speaking, we are prey, not predator. We understand that fear of being attacked by a larger, stronger, more vicious animal. We were prey on the African savanna, and we had to avoid carnivores eating us. We don't have to avoid that really anymore. We've sort of removed ourselves from the food chain.
Leave to go to work. What was it? Which comedian said
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.
There's cheetahs at the bus station. But there is still part of our brain that recognizes that fear, and we have a very visceral response to it. You know, when Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant was getting attacked by a bear, it was like, oh my gosh, how scary would that be?
And in the debate, Roaming also mentioned that it's because we can digest meat. Just because we can digest something doesn't mean we should be eating it.
We can digest candy.
You give soda to a baby, he'll drink it and digest it, pee it right out. Doesn't mean it's good for him.
It's just what our system requires.
It's what our system requires.
Am I a figment of your imagination or something? Because I've been vegan for a while now.
How are we alive?
We just had
it's what
our
our
blood
system
work
requires.
done too.
We must be superheroes.
But the reality is that if you are a vegan, you will need to take supplements to make up for the nutrients that you are not getting from meat, but that your body needs. Vegans don't like to bring this up, especially to potential recruits. But if you're going vegan, you will need a B12 supplement, probably an iron supplement. You might also want to get your hands on some vitamin A and vitamin D. And there's also the question of that pesky vitamin K2, which, unlike vitamin K1, you just can't get from plants.
As Vegan Games pointed out in his video, your body makes K2 when you ingest K1. Vitamin A can be found in carrots, sweet potatoes. Vitamin D is produced by your body when you go into the sunlight and just stand around.
And even if you don't, even if you live in cloudy weather all year round, supplements are not taboo.
No, we've
supplements
talked
are
about
okay.
B12 on our channel.
Take B12. Like Dr. Greger says, it's better to take it than to not take it. The vitamin section has existed since before veganism was a thing. That means that vitamin deficiencies are not a vegan problem.
No.
They are an everybody problem.
If you eat meat, guess what? You can still be B12 deficient. We even give B12 supplements to livestock. B12 isn't made by animals, it's made by bacteria. We've covered this in another video. We'll link it down in the description below. You're picking one vitamin. Our water is filtered and chlorinated and sterilized, and we don't really eat our feces that much. Not that much.
We don't use night soil to fertilize our gardens.
No, we don't eat a whole lot of dirt. We wash our vegetables. Like, it's a product of living in a very sterile civilization. It has nothing to do with eating meat. It's a complete red herring.
In addition to all the supplements you'll have to take, you'll also probably just have to spend a lot more time planning your meals to ensure that you're getting everything your body needs.
Doesn't that happen with any diet?
Yeah.
Guys, you need to plan your meals anyway. You want to make sure you're getting all your nutrients regardless. So that's, again, an empty statement.
If they're not done properly, vegan diets can potentially be very dangerous.
On the contrary, if done properly, vegan diets are the healthiest diets on the planet.
So we know you extrapolated this headline from an article that actually specifically pertains to the German government. Do you know which country released the most vegan products in 2016? Germany, followed by the US. Approximately 10% of the German population is vegan, according to the same article you referenced. Are we seeing headlines saying 10% of Germany's population is dying from veganism, sick in hospitals? There are millions of vegans around the world, and this has not been a thing.
And you don't think the government might want you to keep eating meat and dairy, even though African Americans and Asian Americans and Native Americans are all majority lactose intolerant?
This is just your basic try to scare people from the vegan diet because it's hard.
I know, it's real hard to be vegan.
It isn't, and it's disingenuous to say so.
People think that meat and dairy and eggs are that's just how things are, that's just the way that it is because every restaurant serves it. So by you continuing this narrative of, wow, ooh, if you're gonna be vegan, a lot to think about there. Oh, hold on, we gotta... You're trying to dissuade people away from veganism by using this argument. And furthermore, as Vegan Games pointed out, you're trying to paint vegans as dishonest. We don't try to hide any of this.
And if you go online, you can actually see new vegans who perhaps haven't really gotten a hang of the diet yet, asking questions like, anybody else get nail ridges? My nails have gotten so many and I'm not sure why. Not to mention there's also the newbie vegan hands turning yellow conundrum.
What are nail ridges?
Nail ridges?
How about this paleo form where people got dark circles under their eyes? Look, when you transition to a vegan diet, it's not just removing the meat, it's not just removing the dairy, it's not just removing the eggs. You have to look for other sources that will replace those nutrients.
And I'm not mentioning any of this to put people off of going vegan or to try and convince them that it's not a good idea because, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with veganism. I just think that people who are looking into it need to be aware that it's not this utopian perfect diet that vegans often make it out to be.
You actually definitely were trying to put people off of veganism. This whole video is trying to put people off of veganism. How mean vegans are, how militant they are, how hard it is to live a vegan lifestyle, how hard you have to research in order to have a proper vegan diet, and along the lines of it's not the perfect utopian diet that people make it out to be. Well, let's see. You can lead a healthy life.
without causing intentional harm to other living beings.
You can sleep well.
Poop well.
You can become a great athlete. Lower risk of heart disease.
Lower risk of cancer.
Lower risk of stroke and heart attack.
Lower risk of diabetes.
Lower rates of atherosclerosis.
Lower rates of hypertension.
Lower rates of osteoporosis.
Benefits to the environment. Should we go on?
Anyway, so that's my list of some not so nice things that I've noticed about vegan activists. But like I said before, if you are a vegan, as long as you're a nice person, I really don't care what you do or don't eat.
By the way, it's not what, it's who.
And I'm not trying to start a war with vegans with this video. I think a lot of vegans out there, you wouldn't even know they were vegan because they wouldn't make it a point to tell you. These were just my 2 cents about the more fanatical ones in your group. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to my patrons who support this channel and make these videos possible. If you like this, please subscribe to see more. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Her basic thing is, look, you can be vegan and it's a great diet. Vegans are healthier. It has some great environmental benefits, health benefits, and animal rights benefits. But if you're vegan, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear about it. Keep that to yourself.
It's a reflection of what happened in the debate. Man, was it frustrating.
Yeah.
It was a frustrating debate. Granted, Vegan Gains, even he got flustered. He was doing what I was doing, which was like, you kept deflecting the question about ethics in the debate. There was never a simple, straight answer. You kept looping and looping. The question about what justifies killing a cow versus a human, you completely deflected that. You had never had a straight answer.
We get it. You didn't want to talk about ethics in the debate with Vegan Gains and ask yourself because it's a losing debate.
Yeah.
So you just wanted to focus on your video. So in this video, we have done just that. But it can't really be ignored, the ethical part of it.
I can't. I quoted one of her quotes. We have a sense of ethics and justice and the ability to empathize.
So why don't we apply that
to our actions,
to the billions of animals that are in these factory farms all over the country? Can we apply that?
To conclude this video, Roaming, you're an intelligent human being, but when you debate veganism, your knowledge just doesn't come across the way it does in your other videos. Your arguments lacked foundation. It's obvious we don't need meat to lead a healthy lifestyle. Vegans all over the world are proving that. It all comes down to the fact that you want to continue eating meat and continue to disconnect yourself from the realities of this horrendous industry.
You could just say it. You could just say like, I like chicken sandwiches and I'm gonna keep eating chicken sandwiches. You wouldn't have to prove anything.
So Roaming, we have an offer for you. Come visit us in California. We can't pay for your ticket, but you will have free lodging, your own bathroom.
Yep.
We can take you all over the city to the best vegan restaurants, have the best vegan foods. We can take you to the animal sanctuary so you can get to know some of these beautiful creatures in person and learn about them. At the beginning of your video, you said you never saw yourself going vegan. I mean, it's a pretty close-minded stance to take from the get-go.
By the way, I never saw myself going vegan either. And here I am.
And we promise we're really nice. I know we kind of tore your video apart. Watch our videos and get a sense of what other vegans can be like.
So guys, we hope you liked this new video. Our first rebuttal response. Mukbang maybe. And if you guys did like this video, please give us a thumbs up down below. It really helps us out. If you haven't yet already, subscribe to our channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so that you know every time we upload a new video.
And visit our store.
You can sport some vegan swag. Oh, and guys, we will be at Eat Drink Vegan Los Angeles. If you're going to be there too, and you see us,
tap us on the shoulder and say hi.
Yeah, we'd love to meet you guys. We will be the ones probably carrying some iPhones gaff taped to a light stand. And speaking of us not having the proper gear, if you guys want to contribute to our Patreon page, it's in the description below. We appreciate all the support that you've given us thus far, and we hope to make many, 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 many more videos for you guys. Bye.
Bye. You want some ASMR?
Is that ASMR or is that just gross?
No.